episode of Government Business Today. I'm really always excited to be able to come at you each week with more tools, tips, and strategies to help you grow your government contracting business. I am your host, Erv Hughes, and I am on here with the Wall Street Hall of Famer himself, Robert Lindrum. Hi, Robert. How are you?
I'm good, Irv. Tools, tips, and what was it? It just rolls off of your tongue, man. How do you do this? I mean,
Well,
you're like a highly trained professional at this.
No, listen, not at all. And let me tell you what, our listeners would absolutely tell you I am not at all a highly trained professional
Oh
at this.
man, oh man, oh man.
Well, hey, listen, I'm really happy to have our guest on today. If you guys are watching Government Business Today, as you know, we try and bring you subject matter experts each week as schedules permit. And if you've been out to the website, you'll see a whole list of the profiles of the invited guests that are coming up here in the coming weeks. We have the good fortune of having one of those folks with us here today, Derrick Jones, which I will not steal a whole lot of his thunder, but let's just say that this guy is literally a thought leader, if you will. And this is going to be a real good time for you, like always, to be able to grab a pen or a piece of paper, take some notes, because we're going to share some information with you that's going to really help you be able to kind of get your head around some of the concepts of money. That is what we're going to be talking about. And so I thought this would be very, very helpful for those of you who may be new to government contracting, or maybe you've been in government contracting 25 years, but you still can't find that hyper speed button. Guess what? We're going to talk about some of those very things. Speaking of hyperspeed buttons, Robert, what did you get into this week? Share with us what you've learned this week.
The segues, I love them. Actually, earlier this week I was participating in here in Connecticut, the CCAT, which is the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology. They put on the Connecticut Supplier Connection, which is basically like a big matchmaking opportunity where, and I've lived in Connecticut now for almost 18 years. And I kind of knew this, but I really hit home to me about a number of defense contractors that are here in Connecticut. I mean, you got like Pratt and Whitney, you got Sikorsky up the river from here, Electric Boats here. I mean, just General Electric to a certain degree, just a huge amount. And what they were trying to do is basically line up these contractors with diverse suppliers, the smaller suppliers. They were like, what are the soft spots? What are the big things that you guys are looking for? And they even had a guy from Otis Elevator on there, which was pretty interesting. And the one thing that I thought was super cool was that the state of Connecticut, and we're going to try to get him on this podcast. He's actually the chief manufacturing officer for the state of Connecticut. Like he's the only guy with the United States with this title. But it was pretty interesting hearing him, but also talking about what are the big concerns of the contractors that are out there. And I'm just going to relay to you, our listening audience, exactly what they were saying, which number one, it's inflation, alternative supply sources. There was this big phrase of it used to be, there used to be a thing called offshoring, and now it's reshoring. And that just-in-time inventory has now moved to just-in-case inventory, because these contractors are starting to build up a little bit of inventory because the supply chain is just so messed up. Continued big shortage of workers. And then they also talked a little bit about the top 10 things on the headlines aside from that. And they said that for the first time, at least in the state of Connecticut and perhaps in the Northeast, that the move towards procurement for SWMVs, small minority women veteran-owned businesses, which obviously what we're involved in, it's all about, getting access to that market. And the key thing is that you've got these contractors that want to be able to provide, you've got those, that want to do business with contractors, and they need the access, but that's just the first part. they really wanted to emphasize that, that's your ticket, but you still have to execute. So it was really, really, really very interesting for me. And hopefully I didn't bore anybody with those comments, but it was just I continue to be fascinated by this entire space. And I know that, and I know
not boring at all, Robert. This is meaningful and relevant information for our audience, because what you're articulating here is really important, because a lot of people, frankly, don't know how huge the opportunities are that are out there for them to be able to participate in these opportunities that are literally being ginned up all the time. And now, frankly, I mean, maybe you concur with me, but now there's more interest in diversifying the supply chain more now than ever.
Well, it's not just about diversifying based on demographics. It's also about diversifying away for the supply chain too. I mean, there's a whole different way that you can look through the lens of, well, what does diversification mean? And but you're absolutely right. I mean, that was a very hot topic with respect to, the guy from Electric Boat that has 2,000 contractors. I mean, it's, and 400 of them, and he said, we're mission critical. And just how important it is to, have access to nickel and steel and, all of these raw materials. And I kept thinking, it was like, it'd be really cool to be able to work with a contractor that has access to that, like cobalt or nickel or copper, something along those lines. So something we should talk about at some point.
That's really interesting. And I really appreciate you being able to get involved there in Connecticut and sort of track that.
Yeah.
Because, part of what our goal here, obviously, is to be able to alert our listening audience, who are government contractors and small businesses, obviously, to where they can start to dig for those opportunities. Because, I'm a big proponent of not necessarily chasing money, but more importantly, chase the opportunity, right? And,
it's chasing the opportunity. It's like, listen, I would rather be with the stream or with the wind than trying to fight against it. I mean, it's you want to be in the trend. I mean, coming from the world of hedge funds, there used to be a saying, the trend is your friend. You can't fight the tape. So find that momentum and pipe into it, and then do your very best. And, it's going to work. It's going to be great.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And I'm really, really excited to see that we're now getting into some of those spaces where traditionally, small businesses may not necessarily be able to easily find their place in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, working this sort of from the top down, like you were talking about, I think is going to be really, really helpful for a lot of small businesses.
100%.
So just as a quick segue, I want to also welcome to Government Business Today in the chat room a good friend of mine, Manuel Gonzalez. Hi, Manuel. It's certainly good to see you. A bit about Manuel. Derrick, you'll remember Manuel as used to be our district director here. He's now retired and living the good life. So I'm glad you're not playing golf, Manuel, and that you're listening to Government Business Today. So really glad to have you, and thanks for joining us live here on Government Business Today.
By the way, if you see somebody by the name of Betty Jean, that would be my mom. But anyway.
That's fantastic. Listen, we got to get you on live on the podcast at some point here, Manuel. So we'll get an invitation out to you. So having said that, I want to segue now over and introduce our guest, Mr. Derrick Jones. Derrick is a thought leader, as I mentioned earlier. He has a long list of accomplishments, way too many to mention here in this introduction. But welcome, Derrick, and thanks for joining us here on Government Business Today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
So,
Derrick, thanks for joining us, man.
I appreciate it.
So Derrick, so now you are joining us today because we wanted to talk about, and I sort of touched on this in the introduction, that we're talking about mindsets for not only government contractors, but obviously small businesses. And we're really wanting to center our topic today on the psychology, right? The psyche that's involved in money, because we don't really get to talk directly about money, but at the end of the day, when we're talking about growth and we're talking about small businesses, hey, you're going to run into the subject matter of money. And so I'm really happy to have you on, because I want for you to share a little bit about your background, and then we can get into our topic for the podcast today about the psychology of money.
Sure. And if I could just start with a little backstory.
Sure.
Been in consulting for 20 plus years now. And as you know, we were partnered with the SBA program, as you mentioned, did really well with it. And my passion and skill set was more of the back office structuring type deal, where I cut my teeth in what we were doing. And as those opportunities and experience trainings, if you will, came forth, I began noticing that the clients would hire us to work on their finances, build pro formas, help them with structuring, business development, back office, putting systems in place. And what I began noticing was there was like a void, if you will. I was doing the work, but it still didn't feel fulfilling. I love finance. Finance is very important to everything we do. It touches everything, as you said earlier. And so what I began doing is kind of digging and really searching myself, asking, why am I not happy in helping clients in the area of finance, doing analysis, saving them money, helping them make money. And what I began to see was the behavior of some of the clients that they were doing and the decisions they were making with their finances. And then I think that was the moment where it hit me that it wasn't necessarily helping them to, implement a bookkeeping system or putting some software in to help the sales team, communicate better with customer service. It became more about how the business owners were thinking about the money that, the company was bringing in, and how they were using it. Especially, I know y'all know when it comes to either paying for services or them having to invest in their company to restructure it and grow it to the next level. Sometimes there's challenges there that the business owner doesn't really want to mess with. And I believe a lot of times they're really not sure themselves why that may be. And so that's why I like, we're touching on this mindset about money, because everybody has their own upbringing and education regarding finance. So
today we're kind of centering our podcast today around the psychology of money, and I love the topic, by the way, and thank you for the backstory, because you're absolutely right. There certainly is some mindsets or paradigms that have to shift to allow small businesses to grow a lot of times, especially around the subject of money, and more importantly, where they're investing that money, even in their own business, even in their own enterprise. So just kind of a way of kind of carrying on. So let's talk about that. So what is the psychology, air quotes, of money? What is the psychology of money? What does that mean?
Yeah, if you think of the psychology of money as simply A basic definition is the behavior, your money habits or your behaviors around money.
Mhm.
And I have a quote from Morgan Housel, who was an author of one of the books, Psychology of Money. And he says, doing well with money isn't necessarily about what you know, it's about how you behave. And
Wow.
so a lot of times we're not aware of our behavior. And, you know, if we think about it, just when we think of money, some people get very emotional. There's an emotional attachment. We love to see it come and we hate to see it leave. And so uh, not really having that wherewithal to understand that I have this, I don't want to call it an addiction, but it's creating a behavior or a pattern that I now do with my money when it comes into my business. And so I guess we'll get into that about the business cycle a little bit later, but just having the understanding of how their personal feelings about money can be affect their decisions with their business. Some people can find themselves, they may be very good at making sales and bringing money in, but then when the money comes in, they kind of relax and allow the expenses and whatever comes up to dictate where the money goes. And so sometimes, the investment piece falls short. Or, as we talk about construction companies, you really have to manage those costs. And so just a simple awareness that you may be, your money behavior patterns can now alert you that, hey, I need to put some systems in place when I can bring the money in, but when the money comes, making those best decisions or best practices to allocate those funds where they need to go, and then make sure, I'm building for the future and other projects that we can go after.
Hey, Derrick, so when I think about what you were saying, I remember, at one of the larger banks that I used to work at, they had groups of people that were business analysts, and very similar to what you're saying is some of the phrases that I remember is like they were focused on the business of the business, which is, I think, exactly where your wheelhouse is. But by not being really fulfilled by that, then you decided to go into the psychology of money.
Mm-hmm.
So in your experience, I'm curious so in your experience, how do you broach that topic, with a business owner where you're like, hey, we've got you all set up, your systems, your processes, and everything else. But now let's talk about the way that you think about money. How does that initial conversation go? Do they basically say, there's the door? Because, it's none of your damn business because you just hit me up? Or are they like, yeah, because that's a pretty sensitive topic, man.
It is.
I love what you're saying. I love what you're saying too, Robert, because I was just thinking that while he was talking, because I'm sitting there thinking, well, in my experience, money can magnify who you really are, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And so if you're a bonehead and now you make money, now you're just a bigger bonehead, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of curious, man, that he even has the courage to even attack this subject.
Yeah.
About, with a business owner, it's like, hey, your head's on backwards, dude. You're making some money, but you're really making a mess here with regard to your behavior surrounding money. So I would think that making more money, right, would quiet these behaviors. And you're saying that's not necessarily the case.
Not necessarily the case. And to your point, Robert, it is a delicate topic to enter into.
I'll bet.
As you all know, sitting at the table with the small business owner, and they have their semblance of financial documents, and they don't want to. They want the help, but they don't want to show you everything because
Right.
most people may think they're worse off than they really are, or they really don't know, and so it's the equivalent of asking someone, you go to a doctor's office and he tells you to strip down so we can check you out and see where the problems are, and so even though we've become accustomed to that, it's uncomfortable to do those things. And so it's really what I do is I look for the opportunity to begin to kind of just start asking questions and then enter into the thought process of what is so important about them restructuring their company to, say, apply for $250,000, a line of credit or a loan to grow their business, pursue other opportunities.
Right.
And so really just starting to just ask simple questions about why is this important to you? And then getting into, well, what about money is important to you? And just really just start to go as far as they'll kind of let you go to begin to tap into their mindset, that even them, most of the time you'll see they'll kind of catch on like, wait, he keeps repeating this question, and I gave him an answer, but it wasn't good enough, and so let's go a little farther. And so as they begin to open up, they begin to see, oh, wait a minute, well, I see that when money comes in, I go and I put it under the mattress instead of taking it to the business account, because when I was a kid, that's what mom did.
Yep.
And so now you're getting to the point to where they begin to understand you're there to help. You're not there to hurt. And so pretty much you make the recommendations and suggestions, because as we know, trying to change a habit that we've had for many years is difficult to do, and it takes time. And so we have to be willing to, we can put parameters in place or systems or checks or workflow processes that can handle some of those things. But once we become, really, the thing is self-awareness of how we're behaving regarding money. I know from my own personal experience as a young man, I felt uncomfortable when folks just gifted me with money, say for your birthday or something. And it's almost like, well, I didn't earn this, so I need to do something with it. And so, and it's kind of a self examination kind of thing that kind of came about. So it's like, wait a minute, that's not natural. Why am I doing this? It becomes self-sabotaging. A lot of business owners can get into this pattern of behavior, especially if you've never grown a business beyond 500,000 a year, and now you're having to make all these different decisions, and your skill set that you have around you may not be capable of, helping you to navigate through some of those things. And so, of course, plug for having a great consultant that can help you walk through and, get you other resources you can connect with. And just really, as your business begins to modify and change, the business owner also begins to change with the business.
So this is really cool, man. So now that you have set up your consulting practice to sort of do these psychological, financial colonoscopies, I'm sitting here listening to this and I'm thinking, wow. So you motivated me. I already want to encourage people. You need to change your mindset about money or you're going to have a colonoscopy. Okay? so, so let's touch on this because we got a few minutes left here, and I want to make sure I get to where people have an opportunity to connect with you to look at this because it tells me that these mindsets can really lead to some really big problems in people inhibiting growth in their own mind because they're trying to basically hoard money as opposed to investing it. And even in their own business. And so that's a real issue in my mind when somebody has an attitude or a mindset where they're hoarding money so much so that they can't make the investments necessary to lay the foundation for growth or sustainability going forward. So real quick, how does someone start to change their mindset about money? What do you do?
We were kind of touching on it. Essentially, self-awareness, I think, is the first step.
Yeah.
And once you become sensitive to the behavior, it's almost like out in the yard, you see a tree and it has an exposed root. You see it, but you may not notice that behavior is contributing to your money making decisions that's kind of slowing you down or keeping you in this spin cycle where money comes in but you can't hold on to it, or the other way around, you hold on to it and you're afraid to spend any money and therefore you can't grow.
Yeah.
And so really the self-awareness is a big key to doing that, and then having the willingness to want to work on your mindset. Of course, there's plenty of material out there, but it really takes time to unwind, so to speak, the tentacles that have been built up around behavior to begin that process.
So
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Derek. So I mean, I'm sitting here wondering, like, you take a silver, an ash blonde gentleman like myself that has been doing it. I've always done it this way. That I would think that would be pretty hard to break through. So the 25 to the 35-year-old group, I would think would be more open. Do you see that demographic that playing out in my mind?
I haven't worked with anybody in say the 30s, but some of those that are like in the 40s, they still have a strong will, and what you have to try to get across is, I'm not attacking who you are, and sometimes we attach the money we have.
Sometimes, agreed.
To who we are.
Yeah. This is really good, man, and this is deep, man. I think, Robert, this is like the deepest conversation we've had on government business today.
Look, I'm willing to go longer if you guys are up for it. I mean.
Yeah, well, part of what I want to do is make sure our listening audience has reason to come back, and certainly give Derrick reason to come back. Well, so yeah. Derrick, real quick, hey, people who want to contact you, what should they do? How should they reach out to you? What's the best way?
The best way, you can go to our website at derrickjones.com and fill out the contact form, and we'll make connections there. Or you can call area code 726-202-1350. And most likely you'll have to leave a message. I don't know if you can see in the background, it's a little messy, moving into a new place, so getting situated. And also on LinkedIn is a good way to connect, Derrick D. Jones. And really just starting the dialogue is probably the best place to get things moving.
Okay.
for someone that may be interested.
Hey,
All right.
Derrick, while you were speaking, I think I posted, did that show up in the chat, your
Yeah,
contact and link?
yeah, it's in the
did
chat, guys.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
Yeah, so listen, guys, I want to say a shout out to our good friend, Linda Blake. Thanks for joining us live in studio today, Linda. And yes, Linda, you're going to be on deck here really, really soon. We're really excited about the information that we're getting about your progress also and the progress that you're making in your business. So we're really happy to have you. Until next time, guys, thank you so very much for your time and attention. And don't forget, pass the information along. If you found this information to be meaningful and relevant to you, hey, pass it on to some other business owners, and we will see you here next week on Government Business Today. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.